Welcome. Let's look at the fourth part and the last part of the Accuplacer Arithmetic Sample Questions, numbers 16 to 20. So let's look at number 16. What is 0.8637 rounded to the nearest hundredth? Well, first we want to know about the names of each of the places. So if we go through, the 0 is in the ones place. The 8 is in the tenths place. The 6 is in the hundredths place. The 3 is in the thousandth place. And the 7 is in the 10,000ths place. And we want to round to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to focus on that 6. We want to figure out if we should round up to 7 or round down, keep the 6 and just drop these off. So we want to go through and look at our rounding rules. And first one we want to look at is if we should round up. Well, if it's 5 or greater, we're going to round up. And if it's less than 5, like 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, we're going to round down. So we're looking at the 6, but actually what we use to round is the next number over, the 3. So the 3 is what we use to round. Now 3 is less than 5. So we're going to go ahead and we got to round down. So we're going to drop these out, these two here. We're going to drop out the 6 and the 7. If that number 3 was like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then we'd round up and change this 6 into a 7. But here we're going to drop those out, round down, and we're just going to get 0.86, which would be our answer choice A. Let's look at the next one, number 17. 20% of what number is equal to 30? Now here you can use some quick approximation. The answers are quite far apart. Well, if you said 50%, 50% would be half. Half of 30 would be 15. And the only number close to 15 is 18. So that should be the answer. So you could use some approximation there or work it out. First thing we want to do is transform that percent into a decimal. So I'm going to make it a decimal. 60% is 0.60. And I'm going to multiply that by the 30. Right? 0.60, which is also just 0.6. Right? We don't need the extra 0 there. It's still in the same. The 0 is still there, but it doesn't help us really. And we're going to multiply that by the 30. So 6 times 0, we get 0. 6 times 3, we get 18. And we have one number behind the decimal point. We've got to have one number behind the decimal point as well. And we get 18.0, which is C. Same thing we got when we used the estimation. All right, continuing on there. Number 18, if 4 over 3 divided by 1 over 6 equals P, what is the value of P? And it's actually, they want you to do a little work. They got to figure out which, you got to find the answer, and then where is it in between? So let's find the answer first. What's P? 4 divided by 3, and then divided by a decimal, or sorry, not a decimal, a fraction. 4 divided by 3. Now, in order to divide by a fraction, well, that's 2 divisions. What you do is you go ahead and flip that around. When you have a division and another division, it becomes multiplication. So we're going to flip this around. Right? Just flip it around. And we get 6 over 1. and we go ahead and multiply. 4 times 6, we get 24, divided by 3, and that would be 8. And 8, now that's our answer, but it asks a little further. It says between which pair of numbers? And 8 is in between 7 and 9, right? 7, 8, and then 9. So that would be our answer choice D. All right, continuing on there. Which of the following inequalities is true? We're going to have to just go through each one, and then once we find a true one, since it just asked for one, well, it can only be one, we'll get the right answer. So let's go through the first one. What I want to do is get the same denominator, so I can compare them easily. So I have 3 over 4. And in order to get the same denominator, I'm just going to multiply by the other number in the denominator in the other fraction. So in this case, it's 7. So I'm going to multiply by 7, multiply by 7, and I'm going to get 21 over 28. And then I do the same thing to the other one, 5 over 7. So 5 over 7. And I have to multiply by the other number, 4, to get that same number, 28 on the bottom. That's our goal. And we get 20 over 28. And we need to compare these two. Remember the 3 over 4, 21 over 28 less than 20 over 28. No, 21's bigger. So that one we can eliminate. Right? That is not true. We go to the next one. So we have now 2 over 3. And I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, I could do a little easier. I could just multiply by 2 to get the 6. I'm just going to multiply by 2. We want to get that same number in the denominator. 2 times 2, we get 4. 3 times 2, we get 6. And now we got to compare this 4 over 6. We got to compare, is that greater than 5 over 6, right? If we transform that there, 4 over 6 greater than 5 over 6, that's not true. So we can go ahead and eliminate that. Then the next one here, I need to do the same thing. So let's look at C. Check that answer. I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 10, the other number there. Why 10? Because I just want to get the same number. I can just use this number right here, 10. And I'll get 5 times 10, 50. 8 times 10, 80. And then I want to compare that to the other one, 6 over 10. And if I multiply that by the other number, 8, multiply by 8 on top and bottom, well, I would get 6 times 8, I would get 48. And 10 times 8, I would get 80. And I would have the same greater than symbol there. And that is true. 50 is greater than 48. So that would be our answer there, C. And it's only one possible answer there, so we don't even need to go and continue there. Because we have 50 greater than 48, and we can compare them now that we have the same denominator. All right, let's look at the last question. Carol works at a bookstore and a restaurant in a 28-day period. Carol worked 1/4 of the days at the bookstore and did not work 1/14 of the days. On the remaining days, Carol worked at the restaurant. How many days did Carol work at the restaurant? Okay, so we need to go ahead and figure out how many days did she work at the bookstore and not worked, and then subtract from the 28 days total and the remainder will be how many she worked at the restaurant. So let's figure how long did she work at the bookstore? 1/4 of the 28-day period. That would give us 28 divided by 4, and that would be 7. So at the bookstore, that's how much at the bookstore? 7 days. She didn't work one out of 14 of the days total. So let's work that out now. 1/14 times 28/1, and we get 28/14, which would be 2. And that would be the amount of no work days. So we need to subtract 7 and 2. We need to subtract 9. Add those together and subtract them from the 28. So we take the total, 28, minus 7 plus 2, and we get the 9. And we end up with 19. And that is how many days were left over. That's how many days she worked at the restaurant. Alright, so good luck with the test. This ends the video and ends this 4-part series on the sample questions.